The following segment is sponsored by Maine State Music Theatre's production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific, beginning June 5th. Visit msmt.org to purchase tickets and more information.
Well, if you like a little song and dance, laugh a little, and maybe cry just a smidge, guess what? The theater season is almost ready to start. And today we're talking about the Maine State Music Theatre, of course, in Brunswick. Joining me now to talk about the upcoming season and just theater in general in Maine is Kurt Dale Clark, who's the artistic director for the Maine State Music Theatre. Thanks for coming on here live in our digital studio here to talk about the theater, one of my favorite things to talk about.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us, and thank you for helping us tell our story.
Yeah. Before we talk about the upcoming season, let's talk about just the history of the Maine State Musical Theatre. You guys have been there for a long time up there at Picard Theater. Let's go back and talk about what makes this place so special.
You know, Vicki Crandall in 1959 drove up the coast of Maine, and the first place she looked was Bowdoin College right here in Brunswick, and she loved it, but she thought, I can't pick the first place, so on up the coast she went. She went to a number of different locations, and then finally came back to the very first place she looked at, which was Bowdoin College and Brunswick, Maine, and that's where it's been ever since.
Yeah, what a great setting. I mean, every time I go to a show there, just to park the car and walk through part of that Bowdoin campus and go to Picard Theater. I mean, it's the whole experience of just walking through the campus and going into the lobby and just going into the theater. Just an unbelievable place to go.
You know, Jeff, I always say that when they park their car on the campus of Bowdoin College, start walking around the campus to get to the theater, then they see the Picard Theater, and then they walk in. All I have to do is deliver a good show, and it's a slam dunk evening. And that's usually what happens. And we're pretty excited.
And they're coming back for more.
They are indeed. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about how exciting opening night is coming up. That's June 5th. Before we talk about South Pacific, just opening night in general for the theater, it's just, I mean, we talk about opening night for baseball, football, whatever, sport, but it's you get jitters, you get so much excitement just getting ready for the whole season.
Well, I'm a humongous baseball fan, too. So baseball and musical theater, and I think of those opening days very similarly. So every time we open a play, it feels like that to me. And I even say that from the stage. I say, baseball's here, and so is Maine State Music Theatre. It must be summer. But opening night at Maine State Music Theatre is pretty special. We have a star-studded lineup in the audience as well. Every politician you can think of in the state of Maine finds their way to our audience at some point or another, and many of them for every single opening night or closing night at our theater season.
Well, let's talk about some of the productions you guys are going to have at Maine State Musical Theatre this year. First of all, South Pacific. I mean, this is one of the classics. Goes way back. I actually had a chance to play in the pit orchestra way back, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s for this theater in California, for this special play.
Yeah, South Pacific is a special, special show. Rodgers and Hammerstein at their very best. This is a classic retelling of this tale. I always think that we only have these 12 weeks in the summer to produce our shows, so I've got to give the audience what they want to see. And I try to give them a little bit of everything. So South Pacific is the opener, and just it's going to blow people away. The sets are stunning, the costumes are stunning, the performances are off the charts.
Yeah, for the folks that have never seen South Pacific, first of all, tell them the premise of the story.
So it's basically set in the South Pacific at the time of World War II, and all of the things that go with that, the military aspect of everything, the starving nature of all of the military nurses, the Seabees, all of those people. They're just starved for company and for attention and for entertainment, and you see it unfold. Just like in Michener's book, you see all of that unfold right on stage. And then you add the Rodgers and Hammerstein music, and you can't fail.
There's so many great songs in this production, too. The upbeat tunes. The one I remember that I like the most is just one of the ballads, Some Enchanted Evening. I just love that song.
Some Enchanted Evening is definitely one of the highlights. It's chock full of just some of the best love tunes in the history of musical theater. And as every song starts, nothing makes me happier than feeling the audience have that, oh, here it is moment. And then the next one starts, oh, here's this one, iconic songs. This Nearly Was Mine, Some Enchanted Evening, I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair, Bali High. I mean, just goes on and on and on. And as every song starts, the audience is just gets a wave of nostalgia, and I can't wait to see the next song.
Yeah, we can't forget Honey Buns too. That's one of my
Oh,
favorites
Honey
too.
Bun, absolutely. We'll get you decked out, Jeff. We'll get you decked out in a little Honey Bun costume.
Dress me up like some kind of naval officer.
Yeah,
or
get you
right?
your own pair of coconuts.
All right, I might be able to sing a tune, maybe not really, but to get out there and maybe dance, that would be another thing. Good luck with that. Hey, you got such a great lineup coming your way, and the second one you guys have going. I remember watching when the movie came out with Barbara Streisand, Funny Girl. So after you have South Pacific, can it get any better?
Yes, it can. Funny Girl, we have the only rights in the country this year, professional rights in the country to do this show, and we're super excited about it. It really is rarely done. It's only been revived on Broadway once, and this will only be its second time at Maine State Music Theatre in the history of this great company. So we're super excited to present this show. We have Kenny Ingram directing the show. We have Jenna Lee Rosen playing the title character. She comes to us from California, and she is just a superstar of superstars. Super excited to give this beautiful show to the main audience. And again, it will be a classic retelling of this tale.
All right, now we're showing a video of some of the other musicals that are going to be taking place up in Brunswick besides South Pacific and Funny Girl. One of the ones I'm really looking forward to, just because it's a tradition of ours in our house, is to watch a White Christmas. Bing Crosby. I mean, just an incredible movie. And we're bringing it to the stage this year. Christmas in July, is that what we're talking?
That's exactly right. We had this idea. We can never present the Christmas titles because we operate in the summer. And then I was like, what about Christmas in July? People really like that. So I said, celebrate the Christmas you missed last year, celebrate the Christmas you already know you're going to miss this year, or just have a second Christmas and join Maine State Music Theatre for White Christmas right there at the Pickard Theater. And they will be inundated with Christmas from the minute they get to the theater. The entire Pickard Theater will be decked out in Christmas trees and presents and garlands and lights and everything. And then they'll get to see the classic Irving Berlin White Christmas.
I mean, Irving Berlin music is so good, especially White Christmas. I mean, just hearing Bing Crosby sing that, even on the radio, is incredible. But to see somebody sing it live on stage in the show, White Christmas, unbelievable.
Jeff, on a Monday in February of this year, we sold 98 tickets to White Christmas. I called the box office and I said, was this a group sale? And they said no. So people are really connecting to this idea. And we've got some businesses that are joining us in the Christmas in July theme this year, which is pretty fun. So,
I better buy my tickets pretty soon for White Christmas then, huh?
Yeah.
And then, boy, if you love Carole King, I got to tell you, when I was in my high school jazz band, we played Jazz Man, one of her big hits in the high school jazz band. And so you have this great show that's talking about the life of Carole King, the beautiful Carole King musical, just one of the most iconic musicians ever.
Yeah. And the songbook is just crazy. The hit after hit after hit after hit. And it tells the story of Carole King's life, which everybody thinks they know, but there are parts of it that you don't know. And then watching it unfold on stage, interpolated with the songs that she wrote, it's just a magical experience. And I put it as the fourth show of the season specifically because when we're producing the fourth show of the summer, we're trying to sell next summer. We will sell 60% of our subscriptions for next year during those 3 weeks. And that show in particular is so joyous and so ebullient that it really helps push those sales for the next summer because people think, I don't want to miss this again next year.
Yeah, so basically you're ending it with a proverbial bang this year, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about, even though we're talking about, 2024, and oh my gosh, 2025, right? No, 2024. I get my dates mixed up. Hey, let's look back at 2023, a great season as well. I got a chance to go up there and watch Something Rotten, which was hilarious. But you guys, time and time again, have such a great lineup of shows. And even, I love to go to shows that I've heard of, but also I like going to experience, like take a chance at something, spend the money and go see something. This sounds funny. I'm going to go, and I was pleasantly surprised at this show.
Oh, I love hearing that, Jeff. We always, a lot of times, the show that people don't know ends up being the show that they like the most. And that was certainly the case with Something Rotten. There was a ton of people who wrote me saying, thank you so much, because you know what? People want to laugh. There's enough of the other stuff going on in our lives, so they want to laugh when they come to the theater. And we can't always laugh. There are some shows that aren't laugh shows, but when we can, we do. And Something Rotten was a great example of that.
This was like a diamond in the rough, or like just something like I said, yeah, I heard it's funny. Let's just go. And again, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I had tears come out of my eyes a few times with whoever played, you're seeing it right now, whoever played Shakespeare in this show just brought the house down.
He did indeed. And then there was the big number, a musical. If you remember the number, a musical,
oh, yeah.
A musical. And that is the number that I knew in that slot because it was in the fourth slot. So I knew that would help me sell subscriptions for this year. And guess what? It did.
It did. And I saw the other shows last year, of course, the iconic show. It's funny, they're making everything into a musical now. They made, of course, Titanic, the musical. You also had Buddy Holly, and then 9 to 5. So, I mean, year after year, you guys just come out with a slam dunk when it comes to shows.
Well, Titanic is one of my favorite things we've ever produced in our history. Buddy Holly ended up the highest grossing show in the history of Maine State Music Theatre. And 9 to 5 was just an absolute slam dunk. I mean, every single day, watching the audience leave the theater going 9 to 5. Just that's the goal, making people happy, make them proud of Mid-Coast Maine, proud of Maine State Music Theatre. My goal is to make people say, how the hell did they do that in Brunswick, Maine? And nothing makes me happier than having an usher come up and say, someone said it. I heard someone say it, So that's it. And those shows made it happen last year.
I mean, you guys made a gigantic cruise ship hit an iceberg, come inside this small little quaint little theater.
Yep. The advent of video has helped us tremendously. And I'll give you another example of being in the audience during Titanic and hearing a woman behind me go, where on earth do they store all that stuff? And my brain said, this is working. This is making sense. A combination of hard scenery and video can take us to places that we couldn't go before.
Hey, let's talk about something that is dear to my heart. Again, I've been playing in the pit orchestra. I've been going to shows since I was, -2, I think. Let's talk about how important it is for live theater to have it in your not just at in Brunswick, but even the smaller theaters, even in your high school theaters, even if you're preschool kids, whatever. Because I remember doing Peter and the Wolf when I was like 4 years old. I mean, how important that is.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start by saying you had good parents, Jeff, because parents making sure that their kids are exposed to live theater is an important thing. Nowadays, we're stuck on our cell phones, and I think it's important to get that human interaction. The human interaction of sitting in an audience with people around you, and the human interaction between an audience and the people on stage. People always say, oh my God, the audience was so great. I said, or the show was so great. I said, the audience has a lot to do with that. When the audience is great, the actors feel that energy and it makes them go even further and even further. But young age is super important, Jeff. We do 3 children's shows a year. This year we do Beauty and the Beast, The Story of the Nutcracker, and The Wizard of Oz as children's shows. And all of those are super important to us, even though we lose money on them, because we are giving kids lessons that they don't realize they're even getting. On top of that, we're training the audience of the future, and we're showing if they can have a good time at that age, they will remember that, and they will want to continue that the rest of their life.
For the people who are watching this have never seen live theater, I mean, let's talk about this. That I mean, when you watch a production, they're used to going in and watching, let's say, a movie. And it's like 2.5 hours long, and they've had 174 takes on 1 5-second scene. But you go to live theater again. live. I mean, anything can happen. Sometimes somebody will forget a line and you won't even know it. People are winging it. You had an episode with that years ago, and I went and saw that show in Brunswick with the producers. How really live theater, anything can happen.
That's true. Absolutely. To me, it's the thrill of live theater. So when something like that happens, sometimes an actor will be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that happened." I'm like, "Oh, trust me, the audience is thrilled that happened because they know they're the only audience that got to see that." And that incident that you were talking about was when a sound cue went off with I was wearing a helmet in producers, and I had a pistol. It was supposed to be click, click, and then it fires later. Well, on this particular night, I went click, and the sound guy hit the bang. So it sounded like I shot myself. And I froze for a second, and then all of a sudden I just said, "Good thing I'm wearing a helmet." And that happens in the moment. My two co-stars, Chuck Ragsdale and Ed Romanoff, are over center stage. They just dropped to the floor laughing. I finally got over there, and we all stood up, and nobody knew what came next. The audience loves that stuff. They love it.
Yeah, and sometimes the audience, they don't even know that you were winging it, which is funny. I've had my brothers that they were on stage, and also my oldest son was on stage. And I remember saying one time, "Oh my God, I love when this happened. That was hilarious." I don't remember that when I saw it on Broadway. He goes, "That's because it didn't." I go, "Somebody forgot their line, and then we just wung it." I'm like, "Really?" I go, "I had no idea." That's what makes it special,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I want to go over, when somebody they spend their money on tickets, right? It's worth every single penny to go, because I guess just to convey to the people out there how much work that not just the actors and the musicians, but all the people that do the lighting and all the hard work that goes into doing one of these 2 to 2.5 hour productions.
Yeah, it starts, and people don't realize it starts months, years in advance. We're currently working on 2025, and we haven't even really started. We haven't even opened 2024. So there's really not. There's layers and layers and layers and layers of meetings and designs and approval, and each thing stair steps to the next thing. And then there's also the absolute moment in which all of that comes together and we start to actually produce. And at that point, all of the different departments are firing on all cylinders. And that's what really makes it happen.
I was in marching band and drum corps for years, where we had to memorize the music, every single move on a football field, and everything. And it's the same thing with music theater, but it still blows my mind how some of these actors, not only do they memorize their lines for the shows, they got to remember the dance moves and where the heck they have to be on the stage. I mean, talk about talent, right?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, at Maine State Music Theatre, our rehearsal process is 2 weeks. So when I tell people that, they're like, "How does that happen in 2 weeks?" But we hire professionals. So we hire professionals, and professionals are used to making it happen. It's sort of like a regular job for 2 weeks, in that we rehearse for 8 hours a day. At the point that we're done rehearsing that day, the next day, you have to know everything that you learned that day. And then you just keep layering that on top and on top and on top. And then the end result is, in tech, everybody knows the show. And really what happens is, probably by opening night, people really feel like they know the show.
Obviously, you're really passionate about musical theater and about what goes on in Brunswick. But for you, what makes musical theater and the organization you work for so special?
This is a conflagration of young professionals and seasoned professionals, and there is some magic that happens there, because the young professionals that I bring in from some of the best theatrical colleges all across the United States, combined with the union professionals that we hire from New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, something happens there where the union professionals see the youth and joy and energy and remember what it was that got them into the business in the first place. And the young people watch the seasoned professionals see how to show up on time, to know your lines, to know your dance moves, all those things, and learn how to be professionals. And the magic that happens there it's cathartic.
Kurt, for folks that want more information about, of course, the theater, and also about your lineup, and just about musical theater, in general, what's the website they can go to?
MSMT.org. MSMT.org. That's Maine State Music Theatre.org.
And real quick before we say goodbye, or maybe see you later, list the shows that are going on, including the kid shows again.
Absolutely. So the theater for young audiences or young at heart audiences, we have Beauty and the Beast, The Story of the Nutcracker, and Wizard of Oz. On the main stage, we have South Pacific, Funny Girl. We have White Christmas for Christmas in July, and then we close with Beautiful. And our concert series is The Way We Were, the music of Celine Dion and Barbara Streisand. Then we have an Elton John concert, and then we close with a Jerry Lee Lewis concert.
Oh, yeah. Great balls of fire, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. All right, thank you so much, Kurt Dale Clark, for your time. We're looking forward to the season starting June 5th with, of course, the big show, South Pacific. Can't wait for that. And maybe you can go on June 5th, and will be an enchanted evening for you when you go watch the show.
And thank you for caring about us and the arts. We really appreciate it.
The preceding segment was sponsored by Maine State Music Theatre's production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific, beginning June 5th. Visit msmt.org to purchase tickets and more information.